Hey, IDS 302, Summer Session A. How you doing? I'm Michael Fair. I'll be your host. Um, Welcome to the nightmare. No, it's fine. I'm ensconced down in South Phoenix, just at the border, and it is Saturday, May 16th. I do these videos live during each course. I don't recycle old videos. The first video is always kind of exciting, but a little overwhelming because I've got a lot of things to cover, and we're new. I don't think I have any students in this course that were in my 301. This isn't 301, is it? No, of course not. So it looks like there's 26 of you. There's one opening, so it might get 27, and you never know if somebody asks for an override. But summer session is always interesting. I admire your courage to take a course like this in 6 weeks, and I'm sure you'll do well in it. And this 302 is better than the 302 in session B, and that was better than the 302 in session A. What I'm saying is that we made some changes to the 302. Personally, I did some things with it that changed the the emphasis to make sure it was on an interdisciplinary increased skills more than it was just on a basic research project. Okay. So, yeah, I was just curious. I guess no. Maybe somebody's had me before. Let me know if you're in my class. I might need you to vouch for me. Okay. So, well, about me. I did not get my, that's incense, by the way. The cigar's down here, the coffee's here. I'm all set. I have an undergraduate degree in interdisciplinary studies, which I earned when I was 56 years old. Uh, I decided to go back to college at 52, and I only had like a less than a year in from way back in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, and I decided to go back when the economy crashed. I was in technology sales. Been doing pretty well. Then it crashed. I lost most of my big accounts, and I decided, hey, let's see about this college. I had some passions I was working with in terms of my art and photography and writing, and decided to go back to school. Uh, Finished 3 years, and I graduated summa cum laude. I was the graduate of the year in the College of Letters and Sciences, which used to house this program, which used to be BIS, now IDS. Um, I was at the same semester in 2013 that I was named graduate of the year. I was also named the academic of the year, basically in African American studies, which was one of my concentrations along with human rights. Uh, I was very proud of that, and I had been accepted to Howard University in Washington D.C. for grad school. I plucked my eighth grader out of middle school here. I have two sons, raised them myself. He was my youngest. My oldest went to ASU Cronkite, graduate journalism. So I took my eighth grade son, and we moved to the East Coast and lasted about 2 weeks. For a myriad of reasons, ended up working my way back here, taking my master's program on the West Campus at the New College. It's ASU, it's called the New College, and I got a master's degree in interdisciplinary studies as well, with a final capstone project of a video that I made. It integrates oral history, biography, uh, American studies, uh, video production. I had been more of a photographer, decided to get into video. That video is about a half hour long. It's on my website, and it's on my YouTube channel, I believe. It's the story of a friend of mine who I met when I was selling my art uh, at festivals and such, and he's become a great friend. His name is Hal Brown, and if you care to take a look at that, I made that myself, a little rough around the edges, but I'm really proud of it, and did it all myself. So I graduated my master's degree in 2017, 3 years ago. And then lo and behold, ASU hired me as an adjunct faculty. I had a great mentor in Dr. Michael Prisdia. Some of you may know him. He teaches IDS 301 and 302 and a lot of organizational leadership classes. And he and uh, uh, I was in his class many times, and we developed a great camaraderie. And he was a mentor to me, and I ended up being a mentor to him as well because he's a lifetime academic and just one of the finest academic scholars and people I've met. And but he strongly encouraged me to get into teaching. He said, "You've got a wealth of history and is perfect for this area." I said, "Wow, no kidding! I didn't know what I was going to do. Maybe be case manager in refugee resettlement, things like that." Ended up, like I said, getting hired adjunct, just part time, basically teaching 2 classes a semester. And the following year, in 2017, I was hired full time. Oh my God! Yes, there I was at well, how old was I in 2017? I was 59, and I got hired full time, and it's great, great gig. Love it. So this is finishing. I just finished my 3rd year full time. I teach 301 and 302. Like to widen my expertise and scope if possible, because become more valuable to an organization when you can do more. And in this time of the pandemic, we don't know what's going to happen. However, I feel very comfortable teaching online. My videos have been posted from all over the world. I've done them from Italy, Ireland, France, Portugal, my mother's backyard in Wisconsin, all over the place. But sadly, here I sit. I have a beautiful 2019 Jeep Rubicon that I bought in February of 18, and I've traveled around the country. The first year I put 36,000 miles on it. I basically lived in it. I was a digital nomad. Um, the irony is I just got my new license plate, an ASU license plate that says Traveler, and there it's parked to about 100 miles a month now. So, we'll see where this goes. Anyways, I have a broad range of history. Okay, I feel like I can connect with each of my students at some level. Okay, I was a single parent. Okay, I raised 2 sons myself 24/7, 365 since 2005. I've been up against that. I know what it's like to work and to be a student and do it. Okay, I was in this program. I took this class, well, in a different form, but I took these classes. Okay, I've been in sales. I pulled in over $5 to $7 million of revenue every year in my technology sales as a middleman kind of thing. I used to have 50 accounts buy from me every month. I did that from 97 until, and actually right now I still have one account. I do some part-time, well, it's actually just commission work with a company out of Texas. Uh, Before that, I was in law enforcement. Okay, I was a sergeant for Milwaukee County in the jail system. I came out here and worked in the women's jail and another jail here in Maricopa County. So I understand the chain of command. I understand report writing, very meticulous report writing that needs to be legal and such. Uh, Before that, I worked in other areas of management. I was a newspaper reporter, paid photographer. I was a photojournalist. I went to Ghana and West Africa for their 50th Independence Day. Actually flew there with Stevie Wonder, for anybody that knows who he is now, because I know he just turned 70 yesterday or the day before. Um, and kind of documented that. Loved that trip. I've been many places in the world, mostly in the Western Hemisphere, and done work for Amnesty International as well as Bono's One.org. I sold my art. So in terms of art and creativity in that realm, I feel very experienced in that. In terms of law enforcement, that sales, management. Okay, so I kind of cover a lot of things, and I won't even get into more. We're just covering a little bit. So back when I was young, kids, you get one job and you held it for 18 till you're 65, 47 years. You retired and you went fishing. Okay, and so my first job, one of my first big jobs was a Miller Brewing Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. If you get a job at Miller Brewing Company in Milwaukee, you are set. My dad was like, he's set. Well, a year and a half later, when I quit because I didn't want to work in a factory, he didn't talk to me for 6 months. Uh, Little did any of us know that by the time we got to the 21st century, multiple jobs, experiences, careers is not only the norm, but it's fairly expected. What do you bring to the table? What kind of broad experience and depth and breadth do you bring? And that's where I think interdisciplinary studies fits really well. Um, I be happy to talk to anybody about any more specific things. And I know I'm dragging this out already. I'm sorry, this is a long one. Okay, I'm going to do 2 videos a week. Okay, each video is worth 5 points. How do you get those 5 points? You can't just say I watched the video and then you didn't watch it, right? So what I'll be doing is I disperse 3, I call them Easter eggs, throughout the video. And then your job will be to write down the Easter eggs in an email and send them to me. And then I'll say, hey, thanks for reviewing, 5 points. Okay, so that's how you'll earn that. So let's go with Easter egg number 1 right off the bat. Okay, Easter egg number 1, you'll usually I don't make a big production of it, but for the first one I should. So you basically write down what it is, and you're going to compile these. There'll be 3 of them. First one is IDS equals integration. IDS equals integration. Okay, that's an important concept because I like to distill it down to that. Okay, now when I say IDS equals integration, I mean it, but then again, I don't. What I want to do though is to say, because inevitably you have or you will have friends, relatives, future employers, employers, prospective employers saying, what is this interdisciplinary studies? Why, what is it? I think when you think of integration, instantly you're better able to describe it, right? I'm sure as you've gone through 301, you've heard about these concepts, of course, but I want to emphasize it because it's the quickest way. We all need an elevator pitch, right? We all need that couple of minutes to explain what have we done. I remember going to a family reunion when I was still in the program, and I had a couple of cousins and cousin and her husband. They were big shots, academics, and blah 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 up in Green Bay, and they came up to me. Oh, we heard you're in school again. That's pretty nice. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So you're taking interdisciplinary studies? What? And my cousin's husband said, isn't that where they throw shit against the wall and see what sticks? I can't bleep that out, sorry, but that's what he said. And because you'll run into that. And I'm like, what did I know? Oh, yeah, that's what it is. No, I mean, it's hard to articulate. It's like going and grab me some water off the faucet. Sometimes it's hard to grasp that. It's knowing like math is math, biology is biology, climate change, sustainability. These are all fairly self-explanatory. Interdisciplinary studies is not so much, right? So, but what are the differences? So IDS equals integration, but what's the difference? The difference is interdisciplinary studies is the academic field, okay? All right. I'm going to say it's a discipline, but then we get into this paradox where interdisciplinary the endeavors to break the goals, to integrate. We're not a double major. We're not a major minor. We integrate. Okay, that's the difference. That's why I say it's integration, interdisciplinary studies. Okay. Integration, though, by itself is a process. It is the process by which we accomplish certain things within interdisciplinary studies, how we solve 21st century problems, right? So just remember that. It's a very important concept. Know that I love to see the word integration in papers because then I know that you know and we're all thinking about it. That's a pro tip, okay? All right, so let's take a look about the course and the overview of the course. Um, this video will be longer probably than most of them, I think, but they could probably run about 20 minutes, just FYI, schedule appropriately. Um, I look at the syllabus, of course. It is generally correct. I think I put this together. Like I said, the courses, all courses evolve. Any instructor that's not evolving their courses to make them better is one that is stagnant and probably should rethink how they're approaching this gig. But I like to try to make it better and better and better, right? So take a look at this syllabus. I don't need to go through it. Required learning outcomes. You can see it there, okay? You can see the details. I have a cell phone, an iPhone. I use it. It's cracked. I use it. Okay. Don't call me, don't cold call me, but set up calls, set up Zoom, FaceTime, what have you. We can meet in a myriad of different ways, and I'd be more than happy to. Okay. The text, you need it. Okay. It's a great text. And if I go by the recent evaluations from the last class, yeah, I had one, I think, say, well, that was a waste. That thing was expensive, never really used it or anything. Okay. If you buy a book like this, and this is your field, this should be a really well-read book. Just because you didn't have to read it doesn't mean that it's not of value, okay? And believe me, in this session, you're going to have to read it, okay? So let's just cut to the chase. Like I said, we were changing certain things, and I didn't get into the text as much as I would have liked to, but I did get into the text. We're going to get into the text, okay? But again, hey, I bought this book. I just bought this book and 7 other ones, right? I'm not mad because I bought it so I could read it, right? I wanted to. Let's, let's all calm down. Okay. All right, so this course is based on points, not on percentage. Although right now the course is worth 1,000 points. That's pretty simple. 900 plus is an A. That's 90%, right? 800 to 899 is a B. That's 80 plus percent, right? And so on and so forth. Okay. I do reserve the right. This is I'll be honest. Here's a little secret. This is the first time I've had it at 1,000. Most times I have it at 1,020 or even up to 1,030. That's your built-in extra credit. I haven't decided how I was going to pursue that yet. But what I emphasize from the start is that percentages, think about the points you're accumulating. 700, you get to that point, you got a C. You got the credit. 800, you got the B. 900, you got the A. Okay? No matter what the high end is, right? Because again, if it's 1,020 points, that means 89% will get an A, et cetera, et cetera. So I have a list in the syllabus about the points per module to give you an idea how this course is balanced out. Module 1 is only 110 points, but there's a lot to do, and there's just not a lot of points. I want you to really get familiar with things first before we really dive in. We don't have a lot of time in 6 weeks, obviously. In fact, I think it might be less than 6 weeks. All right. So module 2 is most points, but I think that's because I got a quiz in there too and other things. Okay, so module 1, let me take a look at that because obviously we'll take modules one at a time. But the academic integrity agreement is something you need to do. It's 0 points. You need to check it. You need to agree with it. Basically, it's telling me that you know that plagiarism is out. Okay, submitting a paper from a previous class, no. Okay. All right. Your own work, you can plagiarize. You can self-plagiarize. Did you know that? You didn't know that, right? I know you did. Okay, so then you got a syllabus quiz, easy 10 points. Take a look at that, check it off, see the results. You'll get it, right? Then you get 5 points per these 2 videos I'll be putting out. I'll be putting this one out Monday morning, and then I'll do another one. I think it's on Wednesday or Thursday. I just want to go over work more clearly. Let's take a look then at, okay, we're going to review certain things. Let me just actually go to module 1 now away from the syllabus. And, okay, all right. I'm going to go to learning materials in Canvas. Okay. I'd like you to review. I'm going to double check the links on here. Anytime there's something that's attached or linked and it doesn't work, would you please let me know? Please. Okay. I'm not saying this, but many times if somebody lets me know that, I'm so relieved that they let me know that I give them extra points just for letting me know. Helping out, okay? All right. Don't be like my face-to-face class in the spring when I was having them watch a video and I'm sitting at the desk and I'm listening and watching the video and all of a sudden, like, I'm almost done and I'm looking and nobody's watching. I'm like, what's going on? I look and the projector wasn't on and nobody told me. You guys are upper level college students. You just can't. Anyways, so review the disciplinary pyramid. And what that is, of course, but you should be familiar with it. Let's see if okay. So take a look at can I spin this around here? That's this right here, right? Just so you know, okay? The disciplinary pyramid. Should familiarize with that yourself with that, okay? To understand how these, it's not really a hierarchy as much as it is just a way that it's the way that a single discipline is on the bottom. That's intradisciplinary. Intra, not inter. Intra is single. It's the broadest. It's the biggest. It's the foundation because disciplines are the foundation of higher education, right? Disciplines are individual silos of knowledge. Okay, they rarely cross paths. They have their own thing, their own theories, their own concepts, their own way of doing research. That's intradisciplinary. Then we move into cross-disciplinary, but that is seeing one disciplinary through the eyes of another. For example, analyzing music through mathematics. Okay, um, analyzing um, analyzing. Let me get another one, quick one here. Analyzing terrorism through religious studies, through analyzing terrorism through economics. Okay, there's different ways of seeing things. Okay, seeing issues, artifacts, topics, problems, analyzing them, but not using the most obvious analysis. Okay, could we take domestic terrorism and look at law enforcement? Sure, they kind of match up. But we'll take domestic terrorism and look at it through a standpoint of uh, political science or from economics or from other areas that may reveal certain things about it that law enforcement would not. Okay. Then we get into multidisciplinary, which is what? It's the disciplines that are separate. Okay. They don't do anything. They just separate. It's like looking at, um, let's say, architecture, and you're looking at the concepts and the theories on architecture and everything have to do with architecture because you're building a building. But you're also going to look at a different discipline along with building that building, and that might be sustainability. So then you might be thinking about solar panels on there and all kinds of ways to be a 21st century building, whether it's office building or private building. But you're not combining these. You're just looking at architecture. You're looking at sustainability. Okay. Then we get into interdisciplinary, us, right? If you take that same concept or same idea about architecture, you could say architecture and sustainability, but this. So now you're looking at how does the sustainability inform the architecture? How does the architecture inform the sustainability? Which way are we facing here, the directions, and what does this mean for solar and that? We have to integrate those things, then we can't keep them separate. All right. So that's the difference again, integration. Then we get into transdisciplinary, which is to go beyond the disciplines. Trans is the beyond, go beyond the disciplines. So transdisciplinary, which resembles interdisciplinary in many ways, except the difference there is interdisciplinary stays on the disciplines. It's academic, okay? Transdisciplinary brings in everything, okay? It might start with a problem and then it just uses whatever it needs to. So in that case, we could look again at something like domestic terrorism. And I'm not trying to be obsessed with that point at all, but I'm just saying it's a good example because it's a complex problem, 21st century. Whether it's domestic, international, let's say domestic terrorism, okay? So who are we going to look at these things? We're going to look at it through law enforcement. We're going to look at it through political science. We're going to look at it through economics. But guess what? We can also look at it through stakeholders. Okay, victims' families maybe, or members of certain groups that have a say in this. Let's say the NRA and Second Amendment rights, things like this. They're all part of this, and so you're getting to things that that are not. So if you get into law enforcement as a discipline, that's one thing. But if you get into law enforcement in terms of police officers, in terms of out in the field, a police officer doesn't necessarily mean that they're a law enforcement academic, right? Same way with political science. If you want to get a politician involved, that politician does not mean that they're automatically a political science expert. They may have been a businessman, entrepreneur that decided to get into politics, and that's great, but it doesn't mean it's political science. Another example of that is religious studies. Okay? So just because it might be a priest, rabbi, imam, does not necessarily mean that they are an academic in terms of religious studies, right? So these are different distinctions that I want to emphasize to you, as well as the fact that disciplines should always be capitalized in this course. I want you to know that they're a discipline. So when you're talking about biology or chemistry, that's capital B, that's capital C. Okay, all right. Um, Let me jump in with the second Easter egg right away, and that is contact your instructor. I want you to remember to contact your instructor as Easter egg number 2, because I don't want you to spin your wheels in a course that's this compressed. It's tough. Do not spin your wheels. Let me make a side note on this type of course. There's 3 major obstacles in this course for all of us to confront and get through. Number 1 is that it's interdisciplinary. You all come from a variety of concentrations, from business and communication to dance and geology. I've seen them all, okay? Therefore, I cannot just tailor the research project just to one area like I could if it's biology, sustainability, economics. I want to cater to your concentrations, your passions, your interests by letting you decide the topic, which means we got a bunch of different topics that I'm not an expert in. Okay, but it's an obstacle. It's something we deal with, but I think it works to your benefit. Number 2 is that it's 6 weeks. It's only 6 weeks. You're basically doing research in 6 weeks. There's no good researcher, trained researcher that would want to do research in 6 weeks. Okay, they're probably trying, in terms of the vaccine for this thing. That's almost like that's like 10 years trying to take it down to whatever they can. All right, even the experts. It's a challenge, okay, but we're going to pull it off. I'll show you some tricks how we're going to do that. It's going to be legitimate research. It's not going to be, 8th grade research. Do a research paper on the Titanic. Okay, great. I'm going to look up strength of steel and icebergs and weather and shipping and all this stuff. Here's your research. It's not. It's a report. It's fine that we call it research. So at that level, just like we say I'm going to research a new car, I'm going to research a trip, that's fine. That's how we use it. When we get to academics, higher level, higher ed, and the level of scholarship, research takes on a whole new meaning. It's involved with data. It's involved with something, bringing something to the table that's new, finding something new and adding it to the larger body of knowledge in that particular field. So whether that's, for example, a teaspoon out of the ocean, adding a teaspoon to the ocean of knowledge, what research at this level intends to do is add knowledge, okay, and to keep moving it forward. Knowledge keeps building. Okay, so that's something I really want to mention. That was number 2. Number 3 is that you're interdisciplinarians. Oh my God. And you're basically undergrad students who probably have not done major research, not that there's major, but research at a level that does intend to bring about something new. Okay, that's pretty imposing type of goal, objective, right? That you as an undergraduate student need to add something to the body of knowledge in your field. Okay, you're like, I'm not ready for that yet. Sure you are. Okay, so think of it this way. You see all the buildings on a campus that say, oh, this is the aerospace research building, this is this and that research building. Okay, that's like sprint marathon research, right? We're going to do crawling research. You got to crawl before you can walk. You got to walk before you can skip. Got to skip before you can jog. Got to jog before you can trot. Got to trot before you can run. Got to run before you can sprint. Why did I drag that analogy out, right? But that's what I'm saying. So we got to start somewhere. So we're starting here to apply interdisciplinary inquiry skills, but also to get to know what research is and what it's not at this level. Okay, very important to know that. Okay, so another review here, oh my God, I'm about an half hour, could be a new record, is review the disciplinary approaches diagram. There you're going to get a visual of what that pyramid looks like. You're going to see that intradisciplinary is just one. Say it's a problem, discipline. Cross-disciplinary is looking through one discipline through another. Multidisciplinary, you're going to see just each one, there's no connection. Okay, interdisciplinary, they're going to connect, and then they're going to go to the problem. Okay, transdisciplinary is a circular looking one. Okay, so take a look at that, because it's good to have this imagery, have some context, have some foundation, right? Okay, so then we look at MEAT, a matter of definition. It's part of it's on the first quiz, just FYI, but that's a nice read there. It's a classic. It's a critical article by me. Then there's a short piece on thinking like an interdisciplinarian by ASU principal lecturer, Dr. Brian McCormick, who has been with us for years, and he now teaches out of Australia. Okay, then I'd like you to look at Tanner, read Tanner. Now, Tanner's a good book. Okay, the reason we chose Tanner, we chose it for 301 and 302, by the way, at least I did and Dr. Pristia and a few other instructors, is because it's a solid read. It's not a confusing read. It's not so busy that you'll like get lost in it. Okay, it's fairly straightforward. It's a very easy read. I just read it again last week. Okay, it's a very easy read. I'd like you to read the introduction. Well, at least the beginning of it for sure. Towards the end, it gets a little muddy, but the introduction is only 6 pages, I think. Then you've got Chapter 1, Defining Integrative and Interdisciplinary Studies, about 11 pages. Chapter 2, The History of Interdisciplinary, 8 pages. Chapter 3, Theories of Interdisciplinarity and Integrative Learning, 14 pages. And then an introduction. Okay, that's 14, 22, 28, 38, 39. So it's less than 40 pages of reading. And remember, this is a 6-week course that was meant for 15 weeks. We're smashing it. So 40 pages, not that big deal. But I want you to all take a look at Tanner's 5 steps. That's in page 34. We're going to get back to that, but it's a very important aspect of this course because it's what we're going to follow, okay? Okay, I also have it listed on the next page in Canvas, the Tanner IDS model. These are the steps we're going to be using to guide us through our research, okay? Then there's Purdue OWL formatting guide. I'm going to explain more about formatting. We're going to use APA formatting. I'm not a humongous stickler on it, but there are some certain basics that you must do in this class to get the highest scores, okay? And those are including those as Times New Roman 12-point font, always on a Word doc, by the way. Times New Roman 12-point font, okay? Double line spacing, okay? Paragraph indents, all right? In-text citations need to be done per APA, and the works cited list, resource list, by whatever you want to call it, needs to be done per APA. That means hanging paragraphs. We'll get into that more, but always feel free to contact me. Do not guess if you don't know. But you can go to APA's guide, Purdue OWL, they have a fantastic thing that works. Then there's a page on the IDS 401 info. If you haven't, get yourself familiar with that. Times are changing. It's a website there through ASU to get your 401 done. I want to introduce you to that. Then you've got an introduction that is due. Wow, somebody already posted one. That's pretty good. Okay, it's due May 20th, so that's Wednesday, right? No, 17th, 18th. Yeah, Wednesday. Very simple, but do it, please. It's simple. You can't beat this for good early points, right? All right, and then there is the second video that I'm going to do, and then there is the pick one assignment. I invented this last semester. I moved it to the first one because I'd like you to see more of these articles and websites. Take a look at them. Look at them all, and then decide. Then pick one. Pick one you're going to write about. Okay. Read the instructions. You'll figure that one out. That's a good one. That's worth 50 points. And you know what? That's all for Module 1. Okay, so let me make sure I covered the things I wanted to cover. My next video, I'll get more into details. Like I said, the first one is really hard because I want to get all this information to you, like quickly initially, and not make a total fool out of myself. Thinking about my previous evaluations, which I'm trying to improve upon, most of them are overwhelmingly positive, and I'm really happy about that. I do try to be myself always, as I want you to be. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. There's inevitably somebody who really rips me on the eval that decided not to say anything during the course, but then at the end says, I'm going to let them have it. So anytime you think there's any issues, let me know. By the way, in terms of due dates, I am pretty hard and fast on that. You'll see it in the syllabus quiz. But there are times, depending on what I detect, if I detect struggles, stress, whatever from people, I will move it back. I will never pull a due date closer and put you under more stress. Okay, but we do have a finite finishing date here, okay? All right, I want to work with you all. We're in a climate that none of us have ever been in, okay? And I think I'm the oldest one out of everybody. So I do remember that this is nothing I've seen before, and it sure irritates me. But it is what it is. I don't want to die. All right. So let's do Easter egg number 3. And that is, of course, it's got to be one thing: forks up, forks up. You're part of ASU, wherever you are. If you're a Starbucks scholar, cool. Love you all. I've been to many Starbucks around the country visiting some of my students. If you're not, if you're out here, getting that degree to advance in your career, great. If you're out here believing that this is something you want to work with, interdisciplinary studies, I want to make it worth your while. To do that, go back to Easter egg number 2, right? And remember what I said there. All right, I'm very available. What the heck else do I have to do, right? Okay, so again, forks up, peace, welcome to the class.